that way.
Do you love wine but not the hangovers? Or maybe you just want to remember all the bad jokes your friends tell at dinner parties? Well, you're in luck because today we're diving into the world of non-alcoholic wine. Yes, non-alcoholic wines exist, and what you'll find out about them will surprise you. A long time ago in Paso Robles, California, I used to work at a winery. Wait, we're not going down memory lane. Instead, I'm here to share something just as exciting. I will be tasting 5 wines from our favorite non-alcoholic brands and share the experience with you so you can make an informed decision on your next booze-free wine purchase. But first, if you don't know who we are, The Nutrition Insider is a health and wellness publication that specializes in hype-free, in-depth reviews on the latest and greatest health products. Plus, we educate you on trending topics in mental health, beauty, fitness, nutrition, and so much more. Today, I get to drink on the job. Well, sort of. As someone who's conducted countless wine tastings, I'm putting these booze-free wines to the test. So let's see how these non-alcoholic wines stack up. Cheers to drinking on the job responsibly. First up, we have Shirley, a non-alcoholic Brut. All right, so this is a non-alcoholic Brut made in California. It only has 25 calories per can, which is actually much better than a White Claw, for example. Part of a wine tasting, you want to smell it first, of course. Smells really good, actually, like peaches. Wow, I really like this wine a lot, on first impressions alone. It obviously doesn't have the same tanginess or what you would say like in the wine world is like there's no tannins in this because there's no alcohol, so you're not going to get that same like back of the tongue bite, let's say. So for this wine, this actually does come with tasting notes on it, and that's lemon, peach, and a gentle custard note. It actually does have a little bit of that lemon, and like I said, it does have the peach smell to it just right off the first smell. So I think that's pretty accurate. I would give this wine probably an 8 out of 10. Like I said, it doesn't have the same bite that you would get from a real sparkling wine or champagne, but this is really, really good. So like I was saying before, when you first start tasting a wine, you want to smell it first. Before we get started on the next wine, it might be helpful to know how to properly do a wine tasting. So it's a little different with de-alcoholized wine because there is no alcohol in this, meaning some of the things that you would do to taste wine are unnecessary here. However, that doesn't mean we can't do it anyway. Do it for the vine. So most people will swirl the wine before tasting and look at the legs left behind. Contrary to popular belief, this doesn't mean anything either about the quality of the wine or how it will taste. It's usually just an indication of how much alcohol is in the wine. The act of swirling could be useful for oxygenating a newly opened wine more quickly if it wasn't already opened and decanted beforehand. Now, with de-alcoholized wine, we can smell and, of course, taste to get a better sense of the tasting notes here. That part of wine tasting is still useful for de-alcoholized wine, so let's try the next one. Next up, we have Ish, a de-alcoholized Espumante. A tip about wine safety: when you're opening a sparkling bottle of wine, never point it at your face or anybody else's because sometimes the cork can shoot out. Not saying that from experience. So that's really pretty. That does look a lot like an actual sparkling wine, so I'm excited to taste this one. The tasting notes on here are sweet notes of peach and grapefruit, and again, I really get the peach, and I do get a little bit of the grapefruit, but it mostly just smells kind of floral to me, actually. Oh, okay. So that's a little bit sweeter than the Shirley wine that we tried, but it's not bad by any means. It definitely tastes really good. Again, you're not going to get that bite of alcohol that you would get from a real wine, but this is good. This is really light. If you like sweeter wines, this is definitely the one for you. If you like something that's a little bit drier, I do think the Shirley would kind of appeal to you more. Another 8 out of 10. You might be thinking, isn't this just grape juice? Although technically wine begins as grape juice, it transforms into wine through the crucial process of fermentation. Without fermentation, there is no wine. But how do they go about de-alcoholizing it? Non-alcoholic wine is made by first creating regular wine through fermentation, where sugar in grapes turns into alcohol. The alcohol is then removed using a method called vacuum distillation, which heats the wine gently to let the alcohol evaporate. Some NA winemakers, like Shirley for example, use a cutting-edge spinning cone column technology that delicately removes the alcohol without heating it, which would better preserve the wine's natural flavors. This process keeps the wine's flavor while taking out most of the alcohol. The result is a drink that tastes like wine but without the alcohol. Next up, we have Oddbird, a Blanc de Blancs, which is a blend of Colombard and Chardonnay. Yeah.
Because that way...
That is exactly why I said to never point the bottle at your face or another person.
Days without incident?
0. Ooh, okay. I really like the smell of this one already because it's a little bit different from the other two that I just tried. So the tasting notes on this one are apple, lemon peel, lime, and honey. So like I said, it doesn't have that peachy, grapefruity smell that the other two had. And already I really like the smell of this. Whoa, okay. Really tasty right off the bat. This one does actually have a very different flavor. Again, it's not gonna have the same bite as a sparkling wine, I've already said that, but it definitely does have a different flavor because it does use different grapes. So the other two are gonna be, they don't specify exactly which ones, but those two are going to be Spanish wines or California wines, so likely gonna be Chardonnay or some kind of Pinot Grigio. This one is two different varietals, Colombano and Chardonnay. So this is gonna have a little bit of a different tasting profile, tasting notes to it. 9 out of 10. Love this one. Really good. I like it a lot. Sometimes when doing a wine tasting, I would be asked, so when does the coffee get added to this when talking about a heavier red wine typically? When we talk about flavor profiles called tasting notes in wines, sometimes this can be a little bit confusing for those who are new to the wine world. Certain grape varieties, these are called varietals, will actually have different flavors, if you will, and sometimes the process the wine undergoes during aging will also impart a particular flavor or flavors. For example, if you put a red wine into a new oak barrel, it will have a much stronger oaky flavor as opposed to an older oak barrel. Or if you age the wine in a stainless steel or concrete barrel, you'll either get a pure wine flavor with no flavor imparted on it, or sometimes a more minerally flavor from the concrete barrels. No, there aren't coffee beans, raspberries, or chocolate added to the wine. It's just the grapes being grapes. Next up, we have Naughty, a de-alcoholized blend of Chenin Blanc and Chardonnay. Now I'm like scared of all of these. Oh, I spilled. I'm gonna blame the bottle on that one. That wasn't me. Oh, okay, that's different. Okay. Yeah, so obviously this is not a sparkling wine, so it's gonna taste a little bit different. I would say this is a little bit more like grape juice forward for sure, so it does taste a little bit like that. It's not super sweet, which I do like. There aren't any tasting notes for this, but I would say it's very, very light, for sure, very light. I would say it's a little bit citrusy, little bit fruity. So you are gonna get a little bit of more fruitiness from this, but not with that super forward sweetness that you might find in other de-alcoholized wines. This is really good. I would give this 7 out of 10, really tasty. So a question that I would get a lot when I was working at the winery back in the day was, where does red wine come from and where does white wine come from? And do they come from the same grapes or different grapes? So yes and no is the answer. So white wines can be made from both white and red grapes, whereas red wines have to be made from red grapes. And here's why. A lot of people don't realize that the juice from grapes actually starts out looking the same at the beginning of the winemaking process because the pulp inside of the grapes themselves is white. So to make a rosé or red wine, we actually have to allow the juice to have contact with the grape skins for a longer period of time in order to pull the pigment from the skin of the grapes, which would require them to have red skin. Finally, we have Studio Null, a blend of Gruner, Veltliner, and Gelber Muscateller. I think that's a perfect 2-ounce pour, actually. I still got it. Smells good. Definitely smells different from the last one. Oh, this is even lighter than the last wine, the Naughty wine. Yeah, which is actually really good. If you want a super, super light wine, this is the real deal. I would give this 7 out of 10, super light, but it still has a ton of flavor in there, which I really enjoy. Actually, it does have a little bit of that wine aftertaste to it. which is interesting. I don't know how they did that. In conclusion, the experience of drinking non-alcoholic wine is close enough to the real deal to give you the same satisfaction of drinking wine minus the buzz. This makes these the perfect choice for wine lovers who are sober curious or fully sober. These brands are boldly redefining non-alcoholic wine by offering a way to enjoy the cultural and social tradition of imbibing with friends and family without having to experience the health and psychological effects of drinking. If you're a health enthusiast or just love seeing product reviews like this, you know the drill. Hit like and subscribe to stay up to date on all things health and wellness with the Nutrition Insider.